What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We're back for the next episode of the Culture Podcast. It is me, Jhade Brandon, here representing the culture, the social commentary, and movie enthusiasm. And then I'm here with my co-host, the one and only Kenan J. Floyd. What's up, my brother?
Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's me, Kenan Jerome Floyd. I am here to talk shit. It's all good. It's all good. We're here. It's a day off work. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things going on in the world. There's a lot of political shit happening. And I think this is going to be a really fun episode to really dive deep to see what people are really feeling. You know what I mean? I think open dialogue, I think it's the most important thing right now, as well as a collective mission. And I hope that we're able to accomplish that with this episode.
I think we will. Time is of the essence. But before we get into any of the good stuff and bring our guests on, Kenan, you are hitting the road. You're going on tour. Tell the world about what's going on in your life.
Oh, yeah, what's good? If anybody is watching from San Antonio, I'm going to be in San Antonio this Friday at the Upstage Comedy Lounge, 7 p.m., 6:30 doors open, 7 p.m., 7:30 show starts. I'm going to be with the hilarious Chris Guyon and Everett Lamb. Make sure you hit the link in the bio to hit those tickets or go to upstagecomedylounge.net. The tickets are actually going fast, which is actually pretty dope. So, San Antonio, I'm going to be in you. Come and join us, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Love that.
All right, let's bring our guest up.
I know you know a couple more things. All right, man. So we will get into it. I will start with the oldie but goodie, bringing to the stage my good friend of probably 20 plus years, Miss Tennille C. It has been a minute. I invited Tennille because one, she's a dynamic powerhouse when it comes to the professional world, entrepreneur, leaders, community activists, philanthropists. The list could go on. And I knew with today's topic, talking about strong Black women, there was only a couple people that came to top of mind out of probably a good 10, but two that I knew I had to have on here. So Tennille, welcome to the Culture Podcast.
Thank you, fam. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, nice meeting you, Tennille.
Nice to meet you too. And let me preference anything Jhade and I say to each other, just let it go. We go back a very, very long time. Like I'm ready for it because I never know what he's gonna say.
That's fact. And next up, one of my newest and favorite relationships with Miss Dawn Day, a radio and media personality, dynamic content creator, curator, crazy voice. When she comes on here, you just feel love in the voice. And I just could not have an episode without hearing Dawn Day's voice on the Culture Podcast. So here we are. Welcome, Miss Dawn Day.
What's going on? No pressure, but I love it. Talk to me, Jay.
And you got to tell them like you tell me. Tell me how you tell people to remember your name, please.
It's dawn like the break of day.
Yes.
Hey, now I like that.
Touch it while it's hot, baby.
It's an incense.
Hey, y'all, relax. I'm already hot enough in the sweatshirt. Relax. This is for the kids. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome, Dawn. It's nice meeting you.
It is a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Thank you so much.
Kenan, it's been a wild week on Instagram, especially with women having real conversations with men. What's up with your boy Kenan, man? He creating broken homes, selling dreams, shutting down childhoods. What's going on?
See, unfortunately, I know too many people like Cam Newton, the sea moss consuming, moisturizing niggas that dress like Captain Crunch and they wear hats. It's always dudes that wear hats all the time. Always dudes that wear brim hats. I have a friend in New York who's in that polyamorous-esque biblical sense. You know what I mean? Where it's not necessarily, oh, I'm doing this just because I want to do it. They're trying to bring God into the conversation. Be like, well, biblically, Moses had like 16 wives. He's like that's like what Cam Newton's like. And what annoyed me the most, for those of you that don't know, I should have went to anthropology or psychology or something in school because I really like picking up on I really like observing people's body language.
Yeah.
And the fact that Cam stumbled, and the fact in Nick Cannon too, because she also interviewed Nick Cannon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The fact that they got defensive and they stumbled, and if they would have been with someone that was of a weaker makeup conversation from a weaker conversational point, because they're used to overpowering people in their podcast,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? So when logically they're used to overpowering people logically on their podcasts. So when someone actually held them accountable for real in an undisputable way,
Yeah.
not from an emotional standpoint, not from a viral standpoint, but from a logical way, they couldn't. It was like their mother was talking to them. You understand what I'm saying? So it was frustrating for me to try to hear his justification of
All these broken homes and the fact that he's
because it is what it is. It is what it is. We have
What do you mean by that?
huh?
What do you mean by it is what it is?
No, they're broken homes. That's what it is.
fundamentally.
It's not.
So for those who haven't seen the clip, the young woman who was interviewing him basically said that by him just going out and having multiple baby moms, he is literally breaking the home where there's never going to be a two-parent household. No matter how financially well off he is, each house essentially is going to be broken because he can't be in all places at all times. Right. And we see that where it was like, okay, men can provide for their kids, but you're not physically there. And time again, we see those tear-jerking pictures or videos of a kid realizing his parent actually showed up to the recital or to the game, and then like the light bulb goes off. And presence matters, and we can't get around that. And although financially the kids may be fine, the physical presence of both father and mother in the home will never exist for all of them. And that was the major read. Here's my take real fast that concerns me. It's just like, or what I liked. This was one of the first times on social media where I saw a Black woman unemotionally, unapologetically, and clearly articulate exactly what was happening, why it was wrong, and how behavior needs to be changed. But still, Black Twitter and social media goes in on her like, oh, she read him, this and that. No, it's giving constructive feedback and holding people accountability. Those are two separate things in my world. And as guests here, Black women, has there been times where you've had to check Black men? And did you have to like temper or change how you wanted to say it? Or did you intentionally have like an approach as to get your message across without kind of coming across condescending, belligerent, angry Black woman? Or does that even matter to you when holding Black men accountable?
I feel holding people accountable overall is important. And I know myself, being the Aries, I don't know if it is an excuse, but oftentimes, things just come out and I have to be mindful of the way they come out. Yeah. So whether I'm talking to the opposite sex, the same sex, a superior, or anyone else, I think it is important to be mindful, because at the end of the day, if we're talking about broken homes, we're talking at a point where there's a lot of vulnerability at stake. We're talking about the fact that there's a lot of pain, no matter how you look at it. I mean, he came out and said, I'm more afraid of getting married than I am to have another child. That's and really get the concept of, all right, I'm going to be in this relationship and I'm going to make sure I financially provide. But the fact of the matter, you can't be there every Christmas. You can't be there every birthday. But can I take it another step forward? Okay. Now, I'm just saying, can we have a real conversation?
Talk to me, dog.
Now, We're talking about an instance of a man that says, I'm not married, I'm not in a relationship. Are we making this a big deal because of this conversation? Because honestly, if we were to look in hindsight, this has been going on for years. How many times have you heard Papa been a Rolling Stone? How many times have you heard of the other kid of being somebody else's cousin? So it's interesting how we're all of a sudden cutting on the flashlight or putting the magnifying glass, but it's been going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I have a tough time, before we jump to Tennille, so I have a tough time taking him completely seriously with this cutout at the top of the fedora. It throws me off. It's confusing. Like most folks have like a ball cap or something like that, but like he's just like
a cocktail. I didn't know he was gonna go in like that. I'm not. I'll get up in a minute, but
he's from what, Florida, South Florida, or Georgia?
No, he's from here.
Atlanta. Okay, all right.
Oh Lord.
Oh, I could have pinned that.
Yeah, here we are. Go ahead, Tennille. I jumped in. I'm sorry.
No. You're right. I mean, just like they said, the Luther curl ain't quite right. Like, thing going on. But for me, so Jhade, as you know, I am straight with no chaser. I don't hold back nothing. I say how I feel. I oftentimes will wear my emotions on my sleeve. Being a woman that has been in corporate America, that has been challenged just because I'm Black, just because I'm a female, just because I'm not supposed to have a seat at the table. When I tell you I've had to get with folks, I have had to get with folks. Now, sometimes it's benefited me and other times it hasn't. But I held back nothing because I'm like, what you're not going to do is disrespect. I'm talking about I have derailed a whole meeting to get my point across because the attack on my character or my work ethic or just disrespect. I think the biggest thing for me is the disrespect, because as Black women, we get attacked so much in so many different facets and in so many different areas that that is the one trigger. And I'm a Gemini. My tongue is slick and I know it is. Jhade is laughing because we've had, if he wants to share these stories from us back in the day, me and him then went at it a few times in meetings. And but the love I have for him and his wife and all that, this is years back. But it was because we were both very strong.
Yeah.
And we are both very, very passionate about the work that we do. So it was community-based work that we was working on. But I've always been firm in standing my ground. I don't give a damn who you are. This is what it is. And I've had people try to kick me under the table and, don't say what he said it. He started, I'm finished. So, it's unfortunate that we as women even have to feel like we have to be timid to, protect the male ego. But my thing is this: if you open up the door and you start it, I'm gonna finish it for you.
Yeah.
Once you come with a healthy intellectual conversation, we can agree to disagree. I can say I can see it from your perspective. How do we collaborate? How do we compromise? I'm all in on that. But the minute you go left trying to show your manhood by trying to belittle me, I'm coming for your neck. Yeah. And I'm gonna show you why. So yeah.
I think it's good, Kenan. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll give my final thought after you finish.
Please, I was going to switch over to Shirley.
So, and this actually relates to the conversation we're about to have. As Black people, we need to start realizing that everything connects. Mm-hmm. And I just saw a post on Facebook the other day where it talked about the learning comprehension of students, of kids that are like entering kindergarten, and how most of them can't read. A lot of them don't know their names. A lot of them don't know their addresses, their phone numbers. I mean, it took me a while when I was in elementary school to memorize my phone number. So, I mean, that's not like out of sorts, but anything that's happening to America specifically is a million times worse for Black people. Mm-hmm. And it's a million times worse for, I'm going to say like Black boys because they don't get the benefit of the doubt. Do you know how many Black boys are being put into like special needs classes and reading, if they even have, intermediate reading or like whatever, if they even still have that in school, without any medical reasoning or credentials or anything like that. And when I hear conversations, because again, I've had this conversation multiple times. I got into an argument with someone about Nick Cannon probably like 4 years ago.
Why?
Because I gave my opinion about Nick Cannon and this dude who also wears a hat and a vest for no reason and pointy shoes for no reason. He basically tried to say that, you know, the most important place for a child to be is with his mother. Now, I grew up with my mother and father, right? And maybe I'm speaking from a place of privilege because of that, but emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, being able to deal with things, how you talk to women, how women talk to men, the relationship within the community, unity at first, unity all stems from this, right? So then you start having the conversation of, well, why does racism and sexism affect us so much, right? And it's because it's a herd being separated, and the weak are being pushed over here, and they're vulnerable and they're being attacked, right? So when you say to me, I want to have children, but I don't want to get married, and I want to keep having more children that God gives me, because biblically I'm allowed to have a bunch of women. Nigga, what is you saying? Like, you sound dumb, right?
It's selfish.
And the fact that he has so many people around him that's allowed him to think this for so long. And I'm also going to hold the women accountable too. Because at this point, dating has become transactional. So there's a lot of women out there who will go, well, I'm going to secure the bag by having babies, right? So I'm also going to hold them accountable as well.
Some, not all.
Not all. And let's just be honest.
Did I say all? No. I said I'm going to hold these women that are Kim Newton and Nick Cannon accountable.
Yeah.
So it takes two to tango, but at the same time as well, there needs to be some type of education for these boys and these men to have discipline, and to also be intentional about how they move, because at the end of the day, when we come up on a conversation like an election, we try to figure out why are we having these type of issues, and how come there's so much against when there's a person of color running. It starts in the most minuscule way that we don't even think about. Right? So that's why it annoys me.
Yeah. Dawn, I saw you get moved. Did you need to respond to anything, or are you ready to get into the piece?
A couple of things. I like what you said, Kenan. We do have to hold the women accountable. One thing I can say that I respect this brother is he's telling you who he is.
Right from the gate.
From the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of the fact that we say other people have to hold him accountable, I think that these other people, you need to hold yourself accountable, because you need to look around the company that you keep and what are you entertaining. Mm-hmm. It's one thing that you can say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. But now it's another thing where you're saying I'm part of this quote unquote problem that I'm having an issue with. Because the more you entertain, the more you engage, things are going to happen. Now, let's just be honest. Again, when we talk about maybe not even just heterosexual, any type of relationship where you have a provider and somebody who may be a quote unquote dependent, we know that this is the case. Oftentimes you may get with somebody because of comfort. Now, there was a time, speaking of women, when we could not buy a home. We did not have rights to stack our own money. We could not be our own person and do our own thing. Those days have changed, but nevertheless, let's not act like it's a new thing of women trying to secure a bag, because at first, at one point, that was your livelihood. That was your means of survival. And then I'm sure as we transcend with this conversation, what does that look like when women now are in part of leadership? How we're still second guessed, no matter how many credentials that we have. And simply, now we're making a joke of it, but just how we may talk about how Cam is dressed, we're talking about appearance. What does that look like for a woman when she can and cannot wear, when she is a leader, when she's representing herself in the workplace? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, but But that's a whole can of worms there too, because can we really have an open conversation about a woman's appearance if we're being honest? We can.
We can, but y'all don't like it because it's a double standard.
Come on, you better catch it while it's hot.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's the
Man,
bottom line. No, Kenan, you and I cannot. I think
yeah, we can. Yeah, that's what this whole conversation is about. This episode is about to be fired. I'm
trying not to fist fight. I'm gonna tell you that.
All of my exes have been Aries, so that's the energy I'm getting from Don's window right now. So
yeah.
Listen,
my wife's an Aries too, so I have been trained and taught how to tread lightly, unless you want that explosion. I'm one of those on the cusp of Leo and Cancer, right? So like the Leo and me and the Aries, we are best of friends and lovers to the end. However, when that Cancer and Aries get together and mad, combustible. Toxic, loud, obnoxious. Nobody wants to back down. Both of us are right, and both of us are mad emotional when it comes down to it.
I did say exes.
Yeah.
I'm a Cancer Leo cusp as well, so
we know we're a day apart. There we go. All right, so the perfect transition into it. I think what you said to Neil is important. We talk about not being run down, not being overdone, disrespected, and in this film and in our current political climate with the election season here, Kamala Harris running for president, and some of the nastiest vitriol that's coming out her way. So let's get into the film. For those who you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say before we because we used to do this before we get into the film, let's take a look at the trailer real quick for the audience.
And I want to tell you, I am running for president
of the United States.
I didn't realize it was in March.
Me either. I was about to start clapping, girl. Like, yeah.
Shirley Anita Chisholm. That's what the movie is about. Played by the illustrious Regina King.
Regina King.
Yeah, she did that.
Beast mode.
Accompanied by the late Lance Riddick, rest in peace. Terrence Howard, and a whole bunch of other people. The movie was great. I'm just gonna say that. The movie was great. You've all seen it. Do you guys have any like initial thoughts to jump off from?
Yeah, she throughout the movie, I could just see her resilience. Like it didn't matter what no one said. She's like, I said I'm doing this. Damn it, I'm doing it. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your mom and them say. I don't care what my mom and them say. I'm going to move forward with this because this is what's been put on my heart to do. And despite the naysayers and people having their doubts, she never lost focus. She went to the very, very end, even when her own family tried to hate on her. Like, wait, you're special. Your daddy always made you special. Like that, for me personally, that kind of lightweight resonated with me just in my own personal life. But so many nuggets subliminally dropped throughout the movie when you think about what Black women has had to go through, because we've all had to be a first in some capacity, in something, whether it's corporate America or just everyday life or anything. There's always a first to do something, and it always seems that once the first has happened, the finish line gets moved. I mean, we see it with Simone Biles. We see it with, Sydney McLaughlin. They talking about raising the hurdles a little higher because she's clearing them with no problem. Now they're like, oh, maybe we need to make them a little higher for everybody else and her. It's just, it was subtle, but it was powerful throughout the entire, movie. And honestly, I watched it today and I was, because I wanted it to be fresh, thinking about whatever we were going to talk about today. But it was really just one of those, it reminded me a lot of what we saw in Hidden Figures. The first three Black women at NASA and what they went through.
Another great
yeah, another 3 amazing Black women. You know, love Taraji and all of them and how and the characters that they portrayed. But it just go again, resilience. You know, in that movie, resilience in this movie, and I'm sure there's a few others that'll probably come to mind. You know, throughout the conversation, but her resilience is one to be sought after, because a lot of times as Black women, because we do carry a lot and we do a lot for a lot of people as well as ourselves, we get beat up, we get tired, and we're like, you know what, this ain't worth it. I'm about to bow out. She never bowed out. She didn't bow out to the very, very end when there was no other options for her and she had to turn over her delegates. And even then she did it with grace, and she did it with
style
and style, right, and class. Like everybody else was mad. That would have been me. I'd have been mad. Like, we going to knock on his door. Like, what's the problem? She was like, no, we're going to turn over our delegates. We'll release a statement and we will still not have, you know, any regrets. And she probably didn't realize what she did then and how impactful it will be in today's day and age, and how she's etched in history, just even in how she carried herself. Because I'm not going to lie, I know the story of Shirley Chisholm, but I didn't know it to this level of detail. All the things that she went through and how she had to carry herself. Very similar to how Michelle and Barack had to carry themselves throughout the presidency. They could not, you know what I'm saying? They could not do an inch of the things that other people, 4-5, has done and not be ridiculed in public media. So it's a testament to what, just as people of color, I'm gonna just say people of color in general, not even Black women, but just what we have to deal with and what we have to go through, and still hold our head high and still walk with grace, even when we know they're shitting on us. Excuse my language, but it's what it is, right?
You know what? That's the triggers, Tennille. So, like, one of the things that stood out to me, and one of the quotes, I actually pulled several quotes out from this movie that I thought are super relevant and important. The first one was, "I saw what needed to be done and did it. That's not politics, it's what's necessary."
Right.
And so many times you hear it's not my job, or we should do this, or, you know, that ain't helping us. And at the end of the day, the day's got to end, for one. But two, it is important when you see a need in all aspects, both professionally, politics, your life, relationships, whatever it may be. If you see a need, do what needs to be done. Is the biggest takeaway. Like, fill in the gap, stand in the gap, fix problems. The greatest people, the most successful folks, the billionaires of this world see problems and they fix it.
And, you know, even taking that a step forward, we can't even say that's not my job. That ain't my responsibility. Because then you get labeled again with something else. But oftentimes others that don't look like us can say that and do it with arrogance. And nothing happens. But let somebody else say that, then that's a whole nother conversation, you know, that gets brought to the table. But yeah, I digress.
But what's your thoughts, Dawn?
Oh, well, what she just said, or overall, well, there's a couple of things. I am one, just to piggyback on, and I think it's just how we can structurally work together, and opposed of maybe how we don't, and how we can better up level ourselves. Well, just when you said when there's a need or something needs to be done, like those that need to jump in to handle it. But at the same time, I think oftentimes, maybe because it was due, quote unquote, the scraps we were given, we had to make it work. At what point do we up level ourselves and get structural and say, you know what, this isn't my job. Yes, I need to be compensated for that. And it's just so, it's a challenge, because on one end, we haven't had the years of experience to know structurally how to put a foundation together. We didn't have those conversations about our health. We didn't have those conversations about investments. We didn't have that conversation of how to do a presentation, quote unquote, the right or white way. But then we're carried with this extra burden of carrying other things on our shoulder. And yes, just like that guy said, people are going to laugh at you and say, what is it looking like that? Look at all these just Black people that got together. Then we got the other brother that said, what did you even do? Even though she's educated as a school teacher, you're still not good enough. Now, if we were to transcend this conversation as to what's happening right now with Kamala running for president, people are still discrediting her credentials. what is it going to take? The fact that even if I'm not saying necessarily having to vote for her or standing behind her because she's Black, but when you're talking about the other end and with that conversation, what are we really talking about? She's not a convicted felon. She has not been in trouble. She is educated. She's been doing this for years. Her receipts are adding up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of non-Black people that are obsessed with Black people, and I've actually cut ties with a lot of white colleagues and friends that I've had because of their obsession with Black people. And what's funny is that I'm definitely a policies person. Like, I went ahead and I read a good chunk of Project 2025, and then I actually went and I read Agenda 47, which in my opinion is way worse than Project 2025, because Agenda 47 is actually what is being planned to be implemented. And I'll get into that a little bit later, because there's a lot of parallels when we talk about history. There's a lot of parallels between Agenda 47 and actually how Nazi Germany came into power. And I'm not saying that as like a clickbaity type thing, but if you actually know history, you can see it actually as written, right? Where was I going with this? So even when it comes to Kamala Harris, I want to know her policies. And it's always been, I've always wanted to know her policy. Now, that doesn't mean, it's just policy. That's all I want to know. It doesn't mean I'm for anybody else or anything, but that's just how I want to vote. Now, however, the annoying part about being a smart Negro is that he's trying to come in to educate you on things that don't matter. Like Kamala's race, right? It doesn't matter if she's Jamaican and Indian. To me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether she's Black or not, right? She's better than the other guy. But you have white people for the other guy that are coming in and say, oh, she's not Black.
I'm sorry.
You don't care if she's Black or not. Why are you trying to come to me to convince me she's not Black? You don't care.
Right.
you know what I mean?
Distraction. That's why.
Yeah, it's let's talk about the policies. Let's talk about the policies of Trump and why he's not fit to be president. Or if you think he is, why is he fit? Let's talk about Kamala is fit. Where that's what these conversations need to be about. But it's what you guys are saying. It's the subterfuge of using her race against her, using her being a woman against her. And we're at a point in this country which kind of shows where we are as far as progression is concerned, how people think that is the canary in the coal mine to make a case.
Right. No,
you know what I
mean?
mean?
That's a good point. And what I want to do, and to kind of set the context. So 1964, the Equal Rights Act was passed. I believe it was about 1968 is when Shirley started her career in Congress, and then she ran for president for the 1972 election. So just thinking, it's 60 years ago, 70 years ago or so, not that long ago. Like, our parents were alive. Our grandparents were certainly alive and active voters. One thing before we get into it, I encourage everyone to register and vote. If you have not done that, please make it a priority. One of the highlights or pieces in here is just like, everybody got one vote. Make your vote count. And there's plenty of local elections, both congressional, senatorial, and of course the presidential election, where your vote matters, and all those individuals tie up and roll into a big picture. And if you don't exercise your vote that many people fought, died, bled, and cried for, then you should just slap yourself. So here we are. So when we think about, as rewatching this, I think this may be the second or third time I watched it. I love history. I love kind of like documentary, adaptive type pieces, and seeing like the whole take through it, like how you get into it, standing for what you believe in. Some of the parallels that I saw from the DNC and Kamala's speech, and then Shirley's entire campaign, I started thinking like, This is work for the people, the everyday people, the educators, the union workers, the middle class, and really focusing on the normal folks, not the outliers who are rich, wealthy, but also not omitting them either. It's just I'm a voice for the people, all the time. One of the things, and I'm gonna hand it over, is that she says, all this time I've been fighting and supporting and backing these white women. Where are they at for me? And professionally with you ladies, Kenan, like, have you felt like you've advocated and been supporters and promoters and endorsers of non-Black folks and haven't felt that reciprocated in your lives?
Ladies, you can go first.
It could be a bad question.
Say it one more time.
So when I was looking at Shirley in the film, she was frustrated. It was one of her low moments where I think she was down in Florida or Georgia, and she was talking about part of these white women's issues. The women, I think there was a couple different policies back for women's voting rights and some of the things that they were pushing in agendas. And she just couldn't understand why the white women weren't supporting her like she supported them. Mm-hmm. Why can't they see me in this position, even though, I supported them, like I endorsed them because I'm just not a man, or whether it's a race thing, but like having non-Black groups support you when you rode for them.
Honey, am I about to say this?
Let's speak your piece now. Speak your piece.
I've had the reverse happen.
Okay.
I've had more so of people who are non-Black support, put me in positions to win than I've had of people of my own race. It's like that. And, I had a conversation I was sharing with my sister. I said, it's like a wow, like, how does this happen? But it's the honest to God's truth. And I don't know if it's a situation, and I'm not saying it's always with my case, but building up a scenario where it's like crabs in a barrel. I don't realize that I'm trying to fight and pull you down. All I'm realizing is I'm trying to get up.
Yeah.
And whenever it's the mind your manners, it's the whole power trip that I've seen in other settings, but that's not the case. Now, to go along with your question, I can very well see how that can be so, especially during that time frame, because you're okay with being successful as long as it's not too much. Right. You're okay with doing what you do as long as you're not seen. So I can understand that viewpoint of what you're talking about. It's just like, you were good enough to probably make my food, but you certainly can't sit at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Don, why do you think, to go to your first point, what type of energy did you receive, and why do you think it is that you get more support from others versus?
I didn't say more support. I said I found myself in a situation where the support was rendered there. So I don't want to say that it's never happened. Now, if I were to look back, I would think that perhaps the best way I can explain this, and I'm not saying all families are this way. However, have you ever seen someone depict, illustrate, share how, as a child, maybe a person of color, don't talk back and don't ask questions. Don't ask if I want you to sit over there and be quiet. Now, I'm not saying the child is right to talk back or be disrespectful, but I'm not saying it's only in non-Black or people color races. However, in some situations, hey, tell me what you feel. Why do you feel that way? Now, you'll have in some Black families, I don't believe in therapy. Why I'm going to pay somebody to talk to you? You got other cultures say, who do we need to talk to and have this conversation? For whatever reason, it's always, we got to pull ourselves together and essentially in these broken pieces. And we've made some beautiful mosaics. Okay, I'm not going to say these pictures or these pieces put together when reflected in the light right or the right light doesn't make a beautiful picture. But at the same time, I think it's a lot of broken pieces that unfortunately start to shard away when you put them together.
Right.
I'm done, Tennille. Go ahead, girl.
No. I want to snap my fingers. I want to get a collection. I said I was gonna go get a cocktail in a minute. I still ain't got up because I'm scared I'm gonna miss something. But
you understand what I'm saying, right? And I know it sounds helpful. And I can imagine that, say if you do get to this position and they say, oh, well, you didn't come back for the community. You didn't come back to help us. Because when I looked around, when I had to look at the supporters, when I looked at the people that encouraged, that said, hey, I want you to be great. Who did it come from?
You said they weren't with you shooting in the gym, Dawn?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, listen. I'm done. That's what I had to say. I hope it came out right. Lord have mercy.
But remember,
it did. I would say no. It came out right. And just even when you were talking, I thought about crabs in a barrel, and I thought about the black tax. So you talk about why people wouldn't help that look like us. Jealousy, envy, and hate goes back to the biblical times, right? So if you think about, and it's kind of similar to what you said, yeah, you good, you can make my food, but you can't sit at the table. It also that unfortunately, that is also festered within our community. Yeah, you good to start your little business or do this, that, and the other, but I'm not gonna support, but I'm gonna surely be on your page every day and see what you're doing and how you're doing, and I'm not gonna do this little thing over here versus, that over there. Or the crabs in the barrel mentality where it's like all of us, it's enough for everybody to eat. But your mindset don't allow you to feel or think that way. So you're going to do what you can to keep me down because you're fearful that I'm going to go one step ahead of you versus it being enough for everybody, And then when we talk about, when you said it a minute ago, when we were talking about why won't you come back and help the community? I immediately thought about the black tax. The same people that shitted on you and treated you like you were nothing now coming with a handout because they know that you have the capability and the means, to help, or they guilt you into, well, you got to look out, you got to take care, whatever. But in the same breath, do you really have to, or are you doing it because you want to?
Catch it.
You know what I mean? It's a difference. I don't necessarily have to help friends, family, whatever. I do it because I want to, not because I have to. And you're not going to guilt me into doing that because what I did, you could have easily done it too, but you chose not to. When you go back to just the decisions, and I know this might be taking us a little off topic, but it again, it's cyclical and it all ties together in some shape, way, or form. We conquer one thing over here, and then we dealing with 2-3 other things that pop up and fester from the one. And we see it in our culture a lot, but I think it stems in all. But I feel like it's more relevant in our culture because a lot of times when we look at these tactics that politicians and those folks use to divide us,
come on,
it's the very tactics that they use to split us up. They talk about race, talk about whether or not is she black. What the hell that got to do with whether or not she can run this country or not? It has nothing to do with that. Oh, her husband is Jewish and white, and what does that have to do with her ability to run this country or not? We got to
get back to integrity, morals, vision, goals.
We don't have it. We too busy trying to chase the bag and the money, and we're not focused on this. Like, how the hell does a convicted felon be able to run for president and have people cheering for him and saying, I want him to be my president, knowing damn well if Barack would have crossed the street at the wrong post, it would have been. It's
over. Mad at him because he wore a tan suit.
He had a whole article about him wearing a tan suit.
Yeah, Kenan jumping real fast.
Well, I mean, remember what I said earlier about it's all the dots connect. You have to be able to see. You have to be able to have a bird's eye view of everything to be able to make decisions effectively, and it all leads. Like, for example, black support. What people don't realize sometimes is that black support of other black people equals equity.
Come on.
That's what it equals.
Yep.
Say that again, please. Say it one more time. For the people
black support equals equity, which is going to uplift the community and it's going to help the community grow and thrive. So if you're not supporting other Black creators or other Black people with Black businesses and stuff, you can't complain about losing your hood. Because there's not a foundation to be able to protect your neighborhood from people swooping in and taking it from you if there's no equity and there's no unity within the hood. I'll give you a weird example, right? There's the Haktua girl, Helly Welch, the white girl that was on a Black podcast, by the way, and said a joke, is worth millions of dollars right now.
Yep.
Within 3 months, right? There's plenty of Black artists, and I'm even going through this as like a comedian. There's plenty of times where I'm like, yo, like, share this or buy a ticket or like whatever, right? And for some reason, it's not important to them. When I have white colleagues that have gone from doing clubs to Madison Square Gardens within a year. That used to take 10 years ago. That used to be a 10-year career. And it's because not everybody likes them. There's a lot of white people that hate them. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people, but there's enough to support them to make them millionaires. Now, that's an extreme case. On a smaller level, we just have to realize that the support contributes to the unit. Because now the question really becomes, when we talk about politics, why is there not a strong platform for the Black community when it comes to politics, when it comes to other communities? Why do you guys think that is? It's a genuine question.
I'd like to jump in. It's interesting because now I'm hearing two different things, and I just want to get clarification. So, Kenan, my question to you, does it matter that Kamala is Black?
It doesn't matter to me where she's Black.
Okay.
For his voting preferences.
Now, based on what I received, and that's why I want to be clear on what you're speaking of now, we talked about the importance of equity. We talked about the fact of how it's important because that means you have experience, you're impartial, there's a level of sensitivity. How can it not be important that she's Black? That's for you, Kenan.
Well, it's not important to, well, let me put it this way. It's not important to me that she's Black as far as her race being weaponized against me or for me. Does that make sense?
So for you wouldn't help impartialness and her empathizing for you?
Well, so yeah, I believe there is a level of camaraderie there. Like when the Obamas came and gave their speech at the DNC, I fucking loved it. It was like I really felt a certain type of way about watching those speeches. I'm like, it's been a long time. Even with Joe Biden, I'm like, it's been a long time since we've had this type of elegance and ability on stage. And he also Black. He reminds me of me. He reminds me of my uncles. He reminds me of my friend. Like, you know what I mean? So yes, it's a camaraderie. What I mean by that is when we talk about the importance of unity and equity, the reason her race is such an important discussion in this election because the assumption is that we're not united. So the people that weaponize her race are trying to go after the straggling Black people that they feel they can get to come to the other side based on race. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily do that with any other communities where they try to split the communities by, in reality, something not. And I'm trying to say this like the right way because I'm not saying that her race is not important, but in comparison to what's going on in the country and what we need to accomplish, it's kind of low on the totem pole. The fact that they're using that and playing it on top to say, hey, I'm either going to get you to vote for this person because or not vote for this person because of race I feel it kind of shows how people view us as a voting bloc.
Yes.
Versus, does that make sense?
Let me tell you what I heard you say, Kenan.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I think what I heard you say is that when it comes to who can be the best candidate for the office, race doesn't necessarily matter. It's more about policies, integrity, morals. Who's going to be the best leader for the role? Where race, when you're looking at it on paper, doesn't matter. You're not saying that her being Black doesn't matter. It's just like if I'm just washing the board and taking all the variables off and saying resume to resume, who's the best candidate, then it doesn't matter. But when we think about community, intentionality, uplift, culture, then like, yes, that does matter and does play a part and has significance. I don't think we're reducing the fact that she's Black or that it's unimportant. It's just that if we just look at politics itself and performance, then like it's easy to make a decision from your standpoint.
But what I'm saying is they're saying this is the only thing that this voting bloc cares about. So we're either going to use it against
Black folks or white folks?
Black folks.
Okay.
That's their perception.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And that's why I'm saying that's the perception.
Yeah, that's the perception. That's the small-minded thinking that a lot of folks have when it comes to people of color, that we only value surface level BS, such as race or whatever, and that we're not necessarily, not all of us, but that group of stragglers, the ones that don't take the time to do the research, to understand the issues, to really dig into what a candidate does. They're only going to go off of what ads they see on TV or if somebody knock on their door. Those are the individuals that they can try to sway. And then somebody tries to regurgitate a soundbite with no fact and no credibility. And
I think so.
Messes us up.
Well, I think what's important to bring in, though, is to bring it back to the film. When you look at her campaign, she reached out and engaged with several large pockets of Black groups that initially was like, absolutely not, and weren't supporting her. And it was tons of volunteers that helped and really pushed the agenda forward. One of the things she said is that this gender politics stuff, we got to get over ourselves and make a haven for all people. Like anybody with sense at this time knows that when it comes to leadership, direction, anything that doesn't require physical brute strength or force, like women are just as good, if not better, in many cases. So when we think about the intellectual ability, the aptitude for her to lead either of these women, which I think both are badass, very sharp, they don't take no shit, and are very direct in their approach, I think it can be threatening, but also to me it's super empowering. For decades, really generations, hundreds of years, Black women have been not only the backbone, the structure, the support that has built this country, both our families, who we are, churches, across the board, that has had significant impact on what this world is today. But with anything that you put tremendous amount of pressure on, over time, you get worn down, you get beat up, you get downtrodden, and that fight, that muster, they start to resurface and reshape how it presents. And like you said, Tennille, when you get into situations, like I've been working my ass off for 20, 30 years in this field to be great. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and tolerate any type of nonsense, disrespect, so forth and so on. And you see that showing up. In not only this campaign, but specifically with Shirley, when she's had enough, she's had enough. I heard you. I'll take some advice, but at the end of the day, it's my decision, and we're moving forward. Go ahead, Kenan.
Well, I also want to like put a cap on the last thing I said, but I'm going to tie it into to the movie because I want people to think I'm out here wilding. The difference between the difference I'm seeing. Yeah, follow me on Instagram, everyone. The difference I'm seeing with the Shirley Chisholm campaign, the advantage that she had versus Kamala's campaign is that Shirley was coming off of the emotional fight of the civil rights movement. It's like they had so many Black leaders actually getting killed, Kennedy killed, Medgar Evers, Dr. King. So it was, it was in the early 70s where things were kind of starting to like mellow out a little bit. It wasn't like right in the middle of the civil rights that she was running for president, but at the same time, it was the Vietnam War was going on and all that stuff.
Yep.
And it was very easy to, and what was also interesting too was that there was quite a few Black candidates like there is every year. Like we don't really talk about a lot of the black candidates that we actually have almost every presidential election cycle. But there was a lot of black. Go just in a second. I'll let you want to say something, Don?
I wanted to talk on. I do want to talk about other black candidates and how we're too relaxed. It's a couple things, but I'm gonna let you go because I got annoyed when I found out West was running. I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, we don't talk about all the black candidates that be on the Republican side either every 4 years, but it almost seemed like she would be a shoo-in given the circumstance that she was running in, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the cap, what I was saying earlier when I was talking about equity, and then when it comes to using race in the election and all that stuff, this isn't a 4 years we're going to vote for a black president. That's not what it is. It's a coordinated attack, right? Anytime a lion is trying to get the vulnerable away from the weak, it takes a while. The lionesses, they surround the herd and they spy out who's the weak ones, and then they do a coordinated attack so that they separate the babies from the rest of the herd. Unfortunately, in this country and in the world, that's what people are doing with black people. And it doesn't happen around the election. It happens over time so that when it comes to the important, right? When it comes to the important decision, then it's, you guys only care about race. So this is how we're going to use it against you, right? But that's not who we are. We care about so many other things. There's plenty of us capable. When we talk about like DEI and affirmative action and race and all that stuff, all of us on this panel are capable and amazing at our jobs. But the way that they view us, they just try to weaponize. They try to and the weak ones are the ones that get separated from the herd and try to be, oh, I'm not like one of these guys over here, so I'm going to go over here and be a contrarian, right? So that's yeah, like Omarosa and Stacey Dash and all them and Candace Owens and all them. It's like I'm going to go over here and do this because I don't want to be worried about quote unquote race all the time, even though that's all I talk about. So that's how I saw like the difference in the campaign. The climate was a little bit more like the opening scene that I love because she's from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I lived in Bed-Stuy for a while. Mm-hmm. And Bed-Stuy, Brooklynites in general, very proud of their Caribbean roots. So the fact that it didn't connect with me that she was Guyanese and Barbadian. Like it didn't, like I didn't even think about it like before I watched the movie. Yeah. But when they were like WAGWAN, like in the beginning I was like, okay, like, this is nice. And her husband's like Jamaican and all that stuff. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. If I was alive back then, she would have had my vote.
She would or not?
She would. Yeah. She would have had my vote. I think Kamala needs to embrace her. She needs to put her Jamaican American side. She needs to do a rally in Flatbush, Brooklyn. and be like Wagwan, and talk about Trump and Jamaican. I'm down for that. But I lost my train of thought, but you know, it's the two sides. It's energizing on both sides, but I just think the climate right now is just different than what it was when Shirley was running. But what you gotta say, Don?
Y'all gonna have to reel me in. I got so many levels, so many layers I want to go through. Okay, I even had first off, the support of Black people versus Caucasian. It literally escaped my mind. I was in that situation. Went to an all-girl private school, predominantly white. Came my sophomore year. Ran for president. In hindsight, I look at my speech and how brilliant it was. I literally used the lyrics of music and intertwined it in my speech. Popular songs, similar to what I do in my podcast. When I tell you every Black girl in that school was pissed off, you made us look ghetto. We look educated. Now, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, did I coon or something like that? Now, mind you, I was the Black girl in school. That was the only one part of the play. That was active. That was doing the prayers or whatever on the PA system. And here I am. I'm like, did I put us in a bad light? So much so Just last year, one of the girls that was oh so mad. Here we go, Tennille, holding out their hand. Oh my gosh, we need to get you to come back and talk to the school. And I said, you all don't really, and when I say you all, it wasn't like she's talking about the girls that are there, but it was just so interesting that you got to hear my perspective. Not saying that you hated, but you gave me so much smack about how I position ourselves in an incorrect way. And what I can really appreciate, she said, looking in hindsight, we weren't ready for what you were doing. Okay, that's one point I have to say that. Tennille, backing up to what you were saying, and we're talking about this collectiveness, and even what you were saying, Kenan, why shouldn't we just go for somebody that's Black? Now, I'm saying it in twofold. On one end, white people, Caucasian, the very reason why they may not have been voting for us is simply because we are Black. So on the flip side, they're doing everything because they are white. See, we get in this situation oftentimes that we're trying so hard, kind of playing that Candace Owens role. Why you look like that, Jay? What's going on?
I was just thinking, like, you just can't just go with anybody Black. What's the boy name? Tim Cooks or something like that? Not
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott. That Joker, he'll never get my vote. I don't care how Black he is.
Oh, you said
all right? I got
it's
Tim Scott being Republican.
Thank you. That dude, the one that looks like the little
or the short. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So, you know, not saying, of course, it has to make sense, but I'm saying in the situation when people are opposed to Kamala, like that's probably going to give me another edge because it's never been done before. We're looking at her as the first president of the United States. This is the first commander in chief. The first woman that's going to be able to dictate who can go to war. There's so many levels that she is unlocking this glass ceiling that we say it doesn't matter as to why it's important. Because at the time we didn't think Shirley was going to be important because, girl, what are you going to do? But guess what? We just have to have a vision. We just had to be able to see something. Now, this whole idea of us as Black people, of us coming together or not so much, I think it has to do with it. The psychological trauma is so deep. Like people that enslaved, whatever culture, let's just say we want to say white culture, Caucasians or whatever, the method was genius because even when it came to bettering ourselves, our household had to be broken, which stems back to the initial conversation talking about Cam Newton. You couldn't get government services if you had a man in the household. So guess what? They're not going to give you a job. They're going to push you behind. So even if you tried to do a stand-up, do right man, it still is not enough money in your household. So now I got to think, even in the perseverance for my family, so that my wife or my ex-wife or my baby mama and my kids could eat, I had to be outside out of the home. So then we go back to these broken homes, the foundation, the support. So it's all just very cyclical. I think I touched everything.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, to your point. I so I work in this kitchen now. I make pizzas and salads. Come by and see me. I'm
in the
dope.
kitchen, and he's whipping.
I work in the kitchen. And I work with a lot of Hispanics. I love them. I also speak Spanish, which has rubbed some the wrong way. But we've had to square up a couple times. But but to your point, Don, it's this interesting viewpoint that people have of Black people and how, and again, it's this weaponization. Because I've had plenty of people throughout my life. And now more recently, I hadn't heard this in years, Jhade, I hadn't heard this in years. They said, you're not like a real Black guy. And then they actually said out of their mouth,
what the hell does that mean?
Said out of their mouth, they said, you're not ghetto. These people speak Spanish, Brian. And this is nothing against my Hispano brothers and sisters. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all in San Antonio. But this is what I'm saying. That's why I mean this weaponization of. So what happens is that there's this threat level that people feel, right? And they felt it with Barack, they feel it with Michelle. Kamala Harris, they're feeling it. And the thing about Kamala, and this is what I hate, is that when you are Black and you're good at your job, they're always going to focus on your mistakes. right?
Mhm.
Kamala's not the most. She's not the greatest speaker. I mean, she killed it at the DNC. She's not the greatest speaker. She's kind of, huh?
I don't think she's been in a position to speak until now, like on major platforms. In fairness,
yeah, I'm not.
Most recent times she's been hot.
I'm not against her. I'm just saying, you know, she's kind of corny, but that's a corny Negro speaking to another corny Negro. This is camaraderie. Like, she speaks my language. Her and Cory Booker, I was for both. I was corny, you know, a little bit corny, you know, whatever. So, and I'm only saying that in the say I understand. I will understand where the attacks are going to come from. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the attacks aren't. If she's going to do she could potentially do such a good of a job that they just start attacking her idiosyncrasies to make it seem like that she's the worst person, or she's not black enough, or she's not.
Took a breath wrong. She walks funny, something like that.
It's going to be something that has nothing to do with anything that she's actually doing.
Let me jump in. Let's pivot the conversation because we're running a little tight on time. Let's pivot a little bit. Something that stood out for me that I thought was interesting, was curious to get you all's perspective, specifically Tennille. When you looked at both Shirley, you look at Kamala, and their husbands having to shift into like a supportive role. Mm-hmm. I've never met your husband, Tennille, by the way. So I do, and hopefully I'm not overstepping. But when I think about or look at the,
I feel like you're trying to throw shade right now.
No. Once it came out, I was like, "This is gonna land wrong." That's not what I meant to do. I see you as an executive in a Fortune 100 company. So when I look at it like that, and the weight and responsibility, and now I look at these two women, Shirley and Kamala, who ran for the highest position in the country, and their husbands having to take a non-traditional role in terms of support. Like in the film, Conrad's like the film guy, the security guy. He's working on the campaign, being the security guard. But what we found is there were tension at the table. There was conversations. She wanted to pull money from her job in Congress to fund the campaign. It's just like 38 more thousand or 36 more thousand. And in that debate, she was like, well, it's my money.
Yep, she did.
And like you could see the deflation in him where he storms off, he goes upstairs. Yep. I'm assuming he either gets a check or some money, whatever it may be. But like in your experience, or the people that you all know, let's open up to everybody, that when you have strong Black women, which we're seeing more and more in terms of the professional setting, right, how does the relationship dynamic play out when you have those situations? And I'll come in last because I have an opinion.
Yeah. So let me preface. I've been married 22 years. Okay. I got married when I was 12. And whatnot. But and for the first 6 or 7 years that we've been married, my husband was primary dominant breadwinner. I was still in college trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And then the dynamic shifted post degree, master's degree, even now as I'm getting my doctorate. But one thing that
come on, let me just
yeah.
Yes. Shout out to Prairie View A&M, my classmates. I'm gonna see y'all this weekend because we starting up the fall semester. So yeah. But one thing that has always been clear in the relationship is that he is the man and the king of our household. It don't matter who makes the money. It all comes into the same household, period. And those that have known me for a very long time, like Jhade has known me 20-something years, my husband's always been in the background. He never had to be in the limelight, if that's even a term, but he's always been my watchman. So he's always made sure that I was good. He's always been on the look, and he'll come tell me, I don't feel good about that one over there. Like, why? That I just go do you. I'm gonna be over here, but I'm just telling you, I don't think that one wrapped too tight. Okay. Now, have I always listened? That's a whole conversation. Right. I'm just being honest. It's gonna be. I mean, I don't want nobody don't come on my IG talking crazy to me, y'all.
Yeah.
Just like you said. this is what it is. Like I said, 22 years. It took growth and learning on both sides, me and him. And he knows I'm a social butterfly. He knows that I'm always out here doing something in the community. Hey, I want to go do this. He's like, okay, go do it. Yep. Let's
I'll see you later.
I'll be here when you get back. Yep. Okay. Yep. Go do you. It was, we've been at a point where I wanted to pursue something regarding my corporate career that put us in 2 different cities for 2 years. So I was in one city and stayed, and he was in another, and we made it work. But the one thing about the movie that I did not like is when she called him to the carpet and said, "It's my money."
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, regardless of what you bring to the table as a woman, so I'm gonna talk about myself. Regardless of what I do and what I bring to the table, I can't do it without him because he is my support system. Like at one point in time, and I recently, like within the last 30 days, left corporate America. In my career, I had not been able to do the things that I have not, to be able to have done what I've done without his support. Like I've traveled the globe. I have been in multiple countries over the span of weeks at a time. Somebody got to hold it down at home. And, he has done that for me, but it has never come a situation or a time or a place that I have had to, in the way that Shirley Chisholm, that pull rank and say, well, it's my money. Cause we've never had that issue. We've never had that struggle. We've never had that tug of war in our relationship, but that's because we both have been very intentional about that and making sure that, one, his ego is never bruised. My ego is never bruised. He acknowledges all the hard work and what I've come from. Like I'm just a girl from Flint, Michigan. Okay. That wasn't supposed to make it out. And I'm still just scratching the surface. I still ain't got to where I feel like God is going to take me at some point in my life. Right. But you have to be, as a wife and as a woman, you have to be intentional about how you protect and keep your mate. Just like he has to protect you. As a man, he has to protect and keep your heart. As a woman, you have to protect and keep him as well, because they are just as fragile as we are in just different capacities in different ways. So he needs words of affirmation. He needs encouragement. He needs whatever it is behind closed doors that you ain't got to broadcast it to everybody else on. Giving him what he needs to strengthen and move and grow and groom him into what his potential says he will be. It is so true that the right woman will get you where you need to be, and the wrong woman will have you 6 feet under. Same thing with the woman. The right man will uplift and encourage you and help you see your potential, but the wrong man will have you out here with 50 million 11 babies and doing God or whatever, from that standpoint. So for us, when it comes to the financial dynamic or whatnot, we've never had that issue. We haven't. And I'm
sounds like a respect and understanding thing.
Well,
sorry.
It sounds like a respect and understanding thing.
It is.
You are working together in true sense of partnership.
It is, because he's seen me at my lowest, right?
Yeah.
He saw me when I would be literally 1-2 o'clock in the morning. My head is on my desk like this, falling asleep because I'm trying to do a paper and I got to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I got to go serve for my sorority, and I got to go run NPHC, and I got a paper due at midnight. And he made sure I had something to eat. So when I came home after being gone for 12, 13 hours out the day, that I could still, do what I need to do. It's these things, right? I mean, it just, and the same with him. It's just it's hard because of society, Instagram, social media warps that view. But if you protect it and you keep it, it really can be a beautiful thing. Money don't even become a dynamic. You don't hear a lot of couples that's really got it going on. They don't really broadcast a lot of stuff of what's happening. And the money is running and flowing, and y'all taking trips and getting plane tickets, not, none of that other
flights
that you see.
Right. I have a question. So like what work do you think, and this could be for anybody, but what work do you think has to be done individually before you're in a you can be in a situation like that. Because as we've seen, not everyone is prepared to be in that type of situation. So, like, what type of work individually that needs to be done, or that you've done to prepare yourself for a type of relationship like that?
You got to be secure within one. You got to be secure within yourself and know who you are and what you bring to the table. Number two, you have to, you got to have some good friends that's gonna call you on your shit when you ain't doing what you need to be doing, and making sure that you are looking at yourself in the mirror holistically to say, yeah, this is a fault. This is a flaw of mine that I got to work on, and I got to be intentional about that thing if I want to grow and blossom, in a relationship, whatever that is, right? So if you are, and it really does take some time of self-reflection. A lot of people get in relationships to mask what's going on within them, but then it eventually manifests and come out in other ways that just jacks up. Now you jacking up you and the other person because you didn't take time out for yourself and self-reflection and really understanding what it is within you to make sure that what you bring to the table is your best self. And I'm not saying you got to come to the relationship perfect and flawless, because everybody got flaws. I got them left and right. Like I said, my tongue is slick, and that's just one of my thing. And I have to catch myself even when we do have an argument, I gotta fight fair, because when they say we go low, go to hell, I'm going all the way down there, right?
Oh my gosh!
Listen, because when you're angry, you say stuff out of anger, you can't take it back.
Cannot take it back.
You have to remember that, because those things matter and they hurt. Even after you say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean what I said, you make up for it. It'll always be there. So you have to, those are those things of that self-reflection. If you got anger management issues and you take it too far and you're going to hurt somebody that's sensitive because they open up their heart to you, that's a problem that you got to deal with that thing before you go off and get into another relationship and destroy somebody else's life. So a lot of self-reflection and having a good core 2 to 3 friends that will be there for you and will call you on your stuff. Because sometimes you don't see your flaw, but somebody else will see it and be able to say, and you got to be open to receive it if they're coming from a place of love, not criticism and opinionating and speaking down on you because they may have some hidden animosities or jealousies. I'm talking about some tried and true friends. Like, listen, we're going to pray about this thing. I'm going to come over and sit with you. If we got to fast about it, we're going to do that as well. But I'm going to make sure you're going to be good because I want you to always bring your best self forward. They come far and few between. I can count on my hand how many friends, and I got a lot of friends. I know a lot of folks, but I can count on my hand the 5 that I can call right now and say, I need to talk to you and I need your help. Let's talk about it and let's get it together. But you was wrong, Tennille, on this. Right?
Let me get Dawn in real fast. She may have to go. So Dawn, speak your piece and then also let people know where they can find you. We'll stay on. There's a couple more things I want to go over, but I want to give you an opportunity to respond to any one of those questions and give any of your final thoughts.
No, I thought it was excellent, especially what Tennille said. And I think we need to have people like you amplified on conversations when it comes down to relationships and how, it's not about coming with perfect, but also because I've realized and I've circulated on things that I need to work on that probably has enhanced certain relationships and probably helped dissolve or supported in dissolving them. So I think that's important. Just closing out, I love this conversation. Thank you so much for inviting the conversation. Ideally, I say, I love the idea that a woman is coming to the forefront and being unapologetic about it. I just hope that one thing that we didn't get a chance to discuss, a lot of Black men and their views about a woman running for president. And I can't wait for the answer all the way, but wanted to know the thoughts. If somebody were to say to you, leave it to a Black woman to save America, what does that mean?
Doesn't surprise me at all. Black women historically have been problem solvers and safe havens and places of refuge to civilize the uncivilized, from nurturing and breastfeeding to bearing children when enslaved, to organizing community action when it comes to civil rights, marching for women's suffrage. There's been Black women at the forefront of pretty much every major movement that has happened in this United States. And people go to wars over women. They have the power of the P. I'll save it for another. I'll save it for another episode. But I've been preaching this for the last probably 15 years. That women really run the world and have all the power.
There's a book called that too, just in case y'all.
They owe me some money then, because I know about it. But to me, it doesn't surprise me. I think historically they're the right person for the job. They've led in corporate America, education, schools for so long, and those are the fundamental areas that teach people to be good, to have good character, to have integrity, a moral compass, principles. So I trust Black women with many things, despite the back and forth and some of my commentary on these new Black women with different norms and disrespecting their ancestors that have come before and really kind of there's a lot of reshaping of what Black womanhood is. Although it's not a monolith, I think that there has been a good core of Black excellence when it comes to Black women. So it don't surprise me at all. And there's no fear or reluctancy when it comes to Kamala being president, from my perspective. Kenan, does it matter? Or how do you...
Well, with that being said...
I'm trying to figure out what a new Black woman is, but that might be another.
I'm actually gonna get to that right now. It's the herd. It's the weakening the herd all over again, because you have to realize what has led up to this moment. It's been 6 or 7 years of Black women hating each other on the internet. It's been 6 and 7 years of Black men and Black women hating on each other in the media, the mainstream media. Now I'm talking about like media. I'm not talking about relationship. I'm not talking about like real life, right? All this conversation about interracial dating and whether you're Black enough if you're married to a person that's not Black. Transactional dating. What do you bring to the table? 50-50. During the pandemic, there was people that were inundating themselves with this information 24/7. Every day of the week, and they bring that type of stuff into the real world. I've met some people that will regurgitate things that was on Twitter or what they saw on a relationship podcast or something, right? Sure. So you also have to realize that we're coming from that, and there's a lot of people who the last thing they want to hear is Black women. The last thing that they want to hear in this context is Black women are going to run America. In the context of, I've been told that I haven't been shit for 7 years. Women, the last thing I need is one of these women in office telling me what to do. Now I'm giving it in context because, again, this is a psychological thing.
Yeah,
like that's. Like no other from a vantage point, other communities don't listen to their women like how Black people listen to our women, right? So there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of emotions that's happening. No, I'm serious.
I'm
like
laughing at Tennille's face. Okay,
What'd you say?
I'm laughing at Tennille's expression.
Oh no, but I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this like it's the way it is. I'm just also giving the perspective of the reason there's resistance.
It's a divided culture, and the people you're talking about are usually abused Black men by other Black women, broken, insecure, or they had a negative relationship with the woman in their life.
So connecting the dots. That's the whole theme of this conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with you because it shows up in women too. What I think is happening and has been happening is that we've got to just come to the consensus that you need somebody with you, whether it's man and woman, woman and woman, man and man. You need a partner that can do this journey with you. Life is too damn hard, and you need the support. That's the bottom line. So if everyone can agree on that and get past that, I don't need no woman, I don't need no man, whatever that may be, like, I think we're going to immediately be in a better position. The second part of that is that, like, I'll tell you right now, and why I say this, like, had it last 4 or 5 days, been having to take care of the dog, cook, clean, work, all this stuff by myself, and it's been awful. Like, it has been a terrible experience. And I'm like, I hit my boys up. I'm like, I don't know how single parents do this. Like, it is incredibly hard to do a full-time job, keep a spotless house, eat twice a day at least, you know, tend to a dog or children, anything like that. Like, I just can't even fathom. Like, why would anybody want to do this alone? Now, on the to Kenan's point, in terms of this last 7-8 years of men hating women, women hating men on social media, it's just like all the words is just like either money, give me this, buy this, rent, pay this, pay that, versus like how can, and men, you know, well, what do you bring to the table? You know, this is important, that isn't important. At the end of the day, yo, we need each other. Well, however you want to put the couple together, we need each other in order to make this life easier, more plentiful, more financially stable, emotionally stable. Like, we just need each other. We got to get past the.
But basics. it's a calculated attack. TikTok and Instagram, they make viral negative Black stereotypes, and they don't push the positive. And what happens is that there's a lot of people who unfortunately can't distinguish real life from online. And again, it connects the dot. It starts affecting us politically. This is about equity, bro. Like if the coordinated attack is to weaken and separate, you can't get equity. So that means politically, if I'm running for president, I don't have to be responsible to you. Yeah. I don't have to be accountable to you.
Just need to separate.
You're 15% of the population, and you're not even together. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, Tennille, what do you think about that statement? Leave it to a Black woman to save America.
Listen. Okay. It's said a lot. Leave it to a Black woman to save America, because we have always saved in some capacity. Like, it's almost like the cake was sewn on at birth for Black women. I can look at it from a corporate standpoint. I can look at it from other just situations. My line sister got married recently. She might even be watching the podcast. I don't know. She texted me a minute ago. She said, Tennille, you're a fixer.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? She said, you're a fixer. She said, anytime that something is going on, you always figure out how to fix it and how to solve it. You don't even blink. You just, you fix it. Right. And when I heard that, I mean, I wasn't offended or anything. I was just like, I never thought about that. I was just like, I'm just trying to jump in and help. I wanted her to have the most memorable wedding day that she could ever have. And she did. Despite all the challenges that come with all the artists, if you got married before, you know, stuff just pop up at the last minute. It'd be just driving folks crazy. More so on the bride side than the groom side. You know, y'all just show up with the suit tie on and want to make it do the do. Jhade laughing because you know what I'm saying is true. But my goal was to make sure she had everything that she needed and then some. So I didn't care what it needed to be done. I was gonna make sure that it happened for her as her matron of honor. But when I think about Kenan's statement, that happens a lot, even in corporate America, when there's major projects and things going on. 90% of the time, and unbeknownst to probably everybody, it's a Black woman that jumps in. With my former company, that my former employer, a lot of the chief of staff, so this is the person, the number one person to the CEO and all that, have been Black women.
Yep.
And when you stop it, I stop and think about it, I'm like, man, so-and-so's chief of staff is a Black woman. This person's chief of staff is a Black woman. They got the ear to the chairman and the CEO because they trust them, loyalty, and they know that they're going to go to bat and get stuff done. That don't just happen by happenstance, right? That's just on the corporate side. Then you think about just other things in general, just life. right? Oftentimes, it is the Black woman that gets called upon to help fix, shape, take care of. Not because we choose to wear the cape because we want to. A lot of times it's because we don't have any other choices and we have to, because we're not going to fall and we're not going to allow ourselves to sink. So we got to tighten up by the bootstraps and do what needs to be done. And it ends up helping and saving everybody else in the process, because we tend to uplift everybody when we come up. So
I have
when
a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that
No, I'm just teasing.
No, do you think that it's done that way because Black women are the most trustworthy, or do they need someone to take the fall just in case things go left?
When do we ever fall?
Or is it both? No, I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about you do the job and then something on their end goes left. I don't really trust white people like that, so that's the reason why I'm like asking the question.
So
Do you think it's
trying to ask? What you really trying to say?
No, I'm saying, do you think they use Black women as scapegoats when things go left, or do you think it's because Black women are the most trustworthy, or is it a little bit of both?
No, so I think Black women are trustworthy because we don't hold no punches, because we ain't got nothing to lose. 90% of the time we're gonna say what it is because we don't have anything to lose. If you are savvy enough and skilled enough, you'll know if you're being used as a scapegoat or not. And you'll figure out how to get yourself out of a situation so you are not being perceived as the scapegoat or not.
I'm pretty sure a Black woman created the phrase CY I think, just as a thing, like, hey, we're getting into this. I'm gonna get you to the promised land, but I'm gonna make sure that I told you, I sent this memo this day, I gave this instruction. There's gonna be some receipts.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep every last receipt.
If we keep going, there's always gonna be some receipts.
Right.
One thing that stood out to me and has been controversial amongst the culture is like, when who was it? Meg Thee Stallion showed up at the political rally for Kamala. Got other people like twerking, or Cardi B jumping on, or Kanye saying something, or what's the bald gal who was with Amber Rose?
You said the bald guy, Amber Rose?
Bald gal.
Oh, gal? Okay.
Amber Rose, the Kid Rocks, the Hulk Hogan showing up. Like in the film, like you had Dai and Carol unite, Huey Newton and Shirley Chisholm together for a conversation. Right. And it was one of those conversations. It reminded me of the debates and conversations Tennille and I have had, where it's just like we're sitting down at the table, it's like, well, what you got? Well, what you got? All right, well, here's how we can make it work, type thing. But like in that, there was a bit of contention, but at the end of the day, it was just like, hey, you got our support. We're coming out. When I got your back, we got your back. And that matters, especially California being a takeoff state. This was going to be a major shift in momentum in the campaign. But like, does it matter? Or how critical do we need to be for entertainers getting involved in politics, facilitating, and then does it matter how and when they do it? You can pick any of that if you want, and try to keep it maybe 1 to 2 minutes, because we are going super long on time. But it's good conversation.
I'll say this: I think I'm a firm believer in meeting people where they're at to help them. Right? The generation that is driven by social media and entertainment and what they see, that is influenced by the culture, you got to meet them where they're at. The 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds may or may not necessarily be watching the debate, but they will jump on social media and watch Meg Thee Stallion's Instagram posts or Cardi B's Instagram posts and all this stuff. Now, I say that to also say that when the entertainers are called upon to help make some things happen, to get people out to register to vote, there is a level of responsibility that comes with that platform that sometimes our entertainers lose sight of. That and don't utilize it in the way that I think would be best to reach the audience. So yes, we should use the entertainers, because you can meet people where they are to help them get the word out, because they may not hear about anything else except through so-and-so's social media handle. But at the same time, we have to be, or the political parties, I should say, have to be very intentional and strategic on how they use those entertainers and what they do. Barack didn't necessarily use entertainers. Entertainers actually came to him and said, how can I help you? Yeah. And then he guided them and said, here's how I want you to do it. Don't be on here rapping, cussing, and fussing and talking about women degrading and all that stuff. If you're going to promote and help me, say it like this. Okay.
That was gonna be my next point. Like when they show up, so there's speech writers for all these politicians. There can be a quick little one-sheeter or talking points like these are the things that you need to touch on, and don't touch on anything else. Like this is the message. But I personally don't have a problem with the performance aspect, however it is, but if you're going to say something, here's the hot topics and stick to the script so that we have a consistent message.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things like when you talk about the celebrities that support the civil rights movement, like especially when they went to Dr. King's speech on International Mall, right? They dressed for the occasion. You know what I mean? They dressed for the occasion. They all showed up. And this is no slight against like a Meg Thee Stallion or anything else. But then again, it goes back to the question of the viewpoint, the people's point of views of the community, right? Because if it's the DNC, and again, I think Meg Thee Stallion's, I could watch her twerk all day. So that's not my complaint. But if you're running a political campaign and you're like, okay, we're gonna have Meg Thee Stallion, then Meg Thee Stallion comes out in a halter top and she's twerking.
Is this it?
Is this it? And it's like, look, do whatever you want. That's fine. But at the same time, too, my question is that how you view your constituents in the sense of, well, this is what we're going to get for them to pay attention? And it's like,
is it pander? Well, the question is it pandering?
Yes, but all politicians
do we need to be pandered too?
I think
well, so. I mean, again, all politicians pander.
About a relationship, you got to meet people where they are.
Yeah,
because I think oftentimes we put too much pressure on entertainers and personalities because you got to realize why people fell in love with them. Now it's up to us as a people who are educated to use the discernment and receive somebody for who they are instead of having all these other expectations.
Malcolm X, Malcolm X. What Malcolm X said about celebrities.
Regurgitate.
He said why are they using comedians and actors and all that stuff to be the mouthpiece for important issues in so many words?
They're the only person that can reach it because oftentimes, and here let me now you made me remember this even circling back with Cornell West, one of my listeners from the FM dial, now friends, was really excited, like really supporting them, and I can't even, and what's her name, Abdullah, I can't even think of her name. The thing why that got me so annoyed, because very well, Cornell, you may have some great things. I think the Black agenda, like author of all this great stuff. And on twofold, I felt really insulted as a registered voter that you got so comfortable that you waited to the 9th hour to announce that you are running. You didn't even try to really get on all these social media platforms where these young people are reaching out to express the message. And I'm not saying that you don't have a word, but how was it used? So now at a point where it does matter, now these whatever people that could have been divisive, that could have actually supported young people or supported this thought process, now we're spreading and we're getting thinner by the moment. And I'm insulted in the way that you thought so comfortable just because you've done whatever, that you can announce at the last minute and now all of my attention goes. Where was the effort when because you had to know you were running before this year, or you had to feel something inside, and could those efforts could have been better? I want to say lower level, but at a smaller tier in the whole political government, maybe something locally that could have been done. Now back to what I was saying about entertainers and so forth. I'm on a side because I think there's too many pressures. Like even as myself, as a media professional, there's a burden sometimes that, I'm inspiring and I'm happy. I'm gonna bring this energy and joy. Does that not mean I can curse you out? Because I'm inspiration, but I can light your ass up if I get upset. But it doesn't take away from who Dawn is. And oftentimes we try to have this tunnel view of somebody, but not realizing I need to see you in every angle. No different than Tennille or anyone else that's been in a relationship. I got to see you in all 4 seasons. When you're sad, when you're mad, when you get let go, when there's a celebration, when it's time and situation, the roles have turned, whoever is the financial provider. What happened to seeing somebody in every angle just as you would a diamond?
Yeah.
So
when did you find out Cornell was running? Like recently?
Well, it was definitely before Kamala, but she was, of course, we understand her situation. Probably like this year, probably a couple months ago, maybe.
Yeah, it's about June he announced.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Cornell West fan.
I'm in the dark because I didn't even know he was running. So
yeah, I knew he was running. Yeah,
independent ticket. I know that he knows that he's not going to win. Nor do I think that. Well, I don't know that.
You're taking time, distraction.
He's taking a lot of time, but his main campaign, from what I've seen from social, seeing him in person a couple months ago, has been really on just being family and one people and human rights. And it's been more of a movement and a campaign to talk about what's going on in Gaza. And I've seen very, very little when it comes to our U.S. politics besides how we were responding to what's happening in Gaza. So, like, I don't really think he's making a real push, nor do I think he will have the numbers. I don't even think he's on several states' ballots. He almost looks like the campaign with Shirley, where she wasn't even on certain campaign ballots. But nonetheless, I agree. I think less division, harnessing and getting behind one thing, but he had already announced his run prior to Kamala even announcing, so it wasn't even intentionally to divide the black vote per se. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing about Cornel West is that he's always extreme. He has some extremities, especially when it comes to race, which I don't think the country would really go for. And also, he he dressed like a pirate that went to Yale University, so we can't have friends in the White House. Let's just be real about that. So I mean,
you thought Obama's brown suit was bad. I mean, he wear the same
this guy with these frills on his sleeves. Come on now,
cufflinks.
I'm done.
Both Black West that have ran for president have not been taken seriously. Yeah. Kanye or Cornell.
You can't even put Kanye and Cornell in the same sentence. Come on now. That's a whole.
Like, I wish he had came on the ground running, because I think it's a lot of young people that could have benefited from the knowledge. And I just say that as a people, we need to be more comfortable with stretching ourselves and bridging the gap when it comes to our older and our younger people.
I'm here for it.
Go ahead.
I just want to highlight Barbara Lee real fast. Dynamic. At one, our character, I should probably have her name up here, but nonetheless, fantastic acting, support, militant, cooperative. Like, when it comes to showing up, like, Barbara Lee was it, man. She was about it, and still, I think she's one of the highest ranking Black women in Congress right now, or the Senate. But Barbara Lee out of Oakland area, connecting the Black Panthers. She's been in politics for so long now. But I just want to give her kudos. And this is a perfect example of standing on the shoulders of those who have come before you. And she worked and served and learned from Shirley, launched her career and really grow. And there's been so many others, even locally. We wouldn't have the Mayor Karen Basses. We wouldn't have Auntie Max, we wouldn't have all these other Black. What's the lady down in Georgia? What is it, Georgia, who got the ill built, the bad built body?
Jasmine.
Thank you.
Oh, with the C.
Jasmine.
C-A.
No, Jasmine. God damn it.
Stacey Abrams. It doesn't really matter. The point is that all these women really stand on the shoulders.
Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
But all these women have spawned careers and been able to impact and influence their communities and legislation and policy because of a Shirley Chisholm. And we've got to continue to pay homage for those who have paved the way for us, because I think she was very intentional. Says, why can't I do it? And once I do, this is going to open and keep the door open for those who come behind me.
Yeah, I just want to before we wrap up, I just want to give like highlights of the movie just really quick that that I really stuck out with me. Her being from Brooklyn, very important to me. Her also going to Oakland, or what she met Huey Newton in Los Angeles. Oakland and Brooklyn have been very important cities when it comes to civil rights and all that stuff. Those are my two favorite black cities, by the way. In the beginning of the movie, I liked how Shirley faced micro and macro aggressions. Basically, she said, "Get out of my face," and then in the next scene, she's like, "I'm running for president." So they basically took like years and smashed them together into one scene, and you're like, "Wow, that went from 0 to 100 very fast, right?" Her relationship with Conrad, you could see when the relationship fell apart in the interview, right? And if you guys didn't know this, she divorced Conrad in '77 and married Arthur Hardwick in the same year. The character played by Terrence Howard in the movie. Yeah. Which you kind of saw their relationship. I don't know why Shirley liked McDonald's so much. I guess it was better back then. One of the lines that stuck out with me is when they were in Florida and she was talking to the white woman and she says, "I love you," which again, she said, "Don't love me, vote for me. I don't need your love, I need your vote," which is a very important scene to me because it's the mascot treatment of black women. White women want Kamala to be a sassy black woman so bad. And it has nothing to, and again, this has nothing to do with politics. That has nothing to do with policy or anything. They want her to be. That's why they want Michelle Obama to run, because they're like, oh, we need like a sister in the office to tell them how it is. It's that charade that they play. Then the guy's like, "I'll either vote for you."
Just do the neck twirl. Did you do the bottom of the neck?
Like,
I got some things I want to unpack with you, Kenan, but this is not the episode.
Okay, I'll send you his number later.
Right. And just record it so I can listen to it later with some popcorn.
One of the things I wanted to talk about. Also, her sister Muriel was played by Regina King's real sister, Regina King, in the movie. But the scene that I wanted to discuss with y'all before we wrap up is the scene where Shirley went to visit George Wallace after he got shot.
Yeah, powerful scene.
And this comes into question. What loyalty do black people have when it comes to the grand responsibilities that they have to enact in a job that requires it? Now, and this applies directly to Kamala, and I'll say why after I get your guys'. I'll say how after I get your guys' thoughts.
Say the question one more time. Make sure.
The question is how should blackness affect a person's responsibility in their role to accomplish what needs to be accomplished for the job?
That's going to benefit or not benefit black people?
Just in general, because she went to visit George Wallace because of her political obligations that has to do with the job.
I don't think it was a political obligation.
It wasn't. It was a spiritual one.
It was a spiritual one.
It was a spiritual one.
As a Christian woman, her faith said, regardless, she is still a Christian. Just like it says, pray and love your enemies despite of. She still went and prayed for him and gave him wisdom and encouragement. And if you saw in the scene, he looked in shock with what she was pouring into him on his, now I don't want to say deathbed because he didn't die, but while he was in that vulnerable state. She could have spit venom on him. She could have said, "Yeah, this is what you get, you racist, blah, 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 blah."
Coming home in the ruse.
Right. But her character and how it was portrayed throughout the entire movie was just amplified in that scene. It wasn't about the blackness and the political viewpoint. It was regardless as a Christian. Even in my church, my pastor, he said, regardless if it's a donkey or an elephant, we have to still pray for our political leaders, whether you agree with them or not. That includes 4-5, right? And all of his shenanigans, that we still have to pray for our leaders because they still need some form of guidance. Whether they take it or not is a whole nother conversation, but we still have to. So for Shirley in that scene, as a Christian woman, she felt led to go and pray for him, not about the political affiliation, because I think he was one of the ones that was kind of backstabbing her throughout the process as well. But she still
he's a known racist and bigot.
But what about her constituents who were shocked and they said, "Why would you support him? Because you're supposed to be black."
They was not looking at it from a spiritual standpoint. So now we get into the spiritual lens and the spirit realm versus the human side. So the human side says, I'm not going to support or deal with this racist fool. He got what he deserved. He deserves it. But the spiritual man, if your spirit realm rules inside of you versus your human side, you still have to pray for your leaders. You still have to pray for your enemy. You still have to keep them lifted in prayer, because at the end of the day, it's God that's going to absolve all of that, not you as a human. The Bible says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord, not everybody else, right? So she went there from a spiritual standpoint, despite her constituents' human side saying, why would you go support this fool? He's crazy.
And the backlash
right.
I think it's always going to be that, but a person in leadership has responsibility to do the difficult when it's not popular,
right?
And that's going to be what we see with Kamala if she wins, and this is what I would hope would just miraculously happen with the other guy if he wins. It's just like you have to do and be a good person and do the role, regardless of your personal preference or whatever it is. And I think we need to get back to that. This is fundamentally my role and my job. I'll give you a perfect example of how I feel. I am personally disinterested in any funding, any dollars going to outside countries because they had a hurricane, tsunami, whatever is happening, war. I really personally don't care. However, like, that's what America said that they were going to do. To me, I get concerned when billions and trillions of dollars leave the country when we have underfunded school systems and bad public transportation and underemployment, poor health care, and too many uninsured people. Like, to me, that money should be poured back here. If we believe that we can infuse and make America great again, so to speak, and we have Americans getting better, then the rest of the world will benefit from the overall development, growth, education, and advancement of the country, where we'll then have surplus rather than running a deficit. But that's me personally. But my decisions and behaviors have to be in line with, what I believe in and being diplomatic.
Well, I think that's an interesting point of view when people try to bring up Kamala's attorney general, or what was it? Attorney general and district attorney career. Yeah. I'm always kind of like a cynical guy. So like when they're like, oh, she put a lot of black people in jail and stuff. Were they? It's a hard thing to say because you're kind of like, she was doing her job.
You wanted to say whether guilty.
And then it's like she was doing her job. Were they guilty? It's like, were they guilty? You know what I mean? It's like, so I mean, it's, and that's why I say like it relates to Kamala, because again, people look at her as what we're looking at Shirley as what she represented. Why would you go talk to George Wallace? He's a racist and you're black. And now people are trying to say, hey, she put black people in jail and she's supposed to be black or like whatever, right?
No, because so, what would you say? You committed a crime. Like, that doesn't absolve that. And I think that's another thing that I think we don't uncover enough or unpack enough when we do talk about black folks coming together. We got to come together on principality. We got to come together with integrity. And that shows up even when it comes to supporting black businesses. And I'm just saying, as in one part, don't look as me as the homie that you gonna come late to work, that you need some food in there, that you'll pay me back and it don't matter. No, show up like
be professional.
Else. Exactly. And I think sometimes when we talk about structurally When we talk about building within ourselves, yes, we can blame ourselves at some point, but at the same time, we don't have those same foundational principles that apply.
Yeah, it doesn't go across the board, unfortunately.
Right.
Just real quick, to your point, Kenan, I have a big issue with misinformation, and it's been driving me crazy for the last probably decade. When we have fake news, we have the damn internet now, where it's not like with stuff we used to go in the newspaper. It was like, all right, this has been fact checked, double checked, it's going to print, it's out there. That's how you learn. Now in the digital space with hackers and all these other things, you don't know what the truth is.
Right.
Like
and nobody's checking.
You read 5 different things from what you think is reputable sources, and you just don't know. And it's tough.
And nobody's
checking. It's very, very hard to validate it, with just basic means. I mean, there's some stuff that's easy, low-hanging fruit, but like the details. But for Kamala's record, yes, over 10 years, she put 1,500 criminals away. 54 of them. 54 of them were black for marijuana. So, you don't get the whole point, but you have to do the fact checking and digging to figure that out. But it's a hell of a hot take on Instagram or TikTok or a commercial. But how many people? Okay, here's my issue. Collectively, as a society, amongst young people and people my age, in my opinion, we are intellectually lazy. And when you see or hear something, you don't take the time to figure out what the fuck is right. And it drives me crazy. It's the same people who get on Facebook or Instagram and what's a good movie to watch? Well, you do know that Netflix actually tells you the top movies in the country or in the world, good starting place. There's also this great thing called Google, which is a search engine where you could look up, hey, what's the hottest thing in the last month? What are the new releases? But it just lacks intellectual curiosity, and I think that to me is going to be the biggest detriment to our society is people not thinking anymore.
Like people post when somebody died and they ain't even dying, you already spreading it on.
Rocking that, but what?
You're like, when did they die? They ain't dead.
Well,
I'm still alive. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, but again, it's dots being connected, bro. I keep coming back to that. The misinformation, the manipulation. As far as I'm concerned, she was doing our job. I think sometimes too, as black constituents, I also think we hold our people higher than other people.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Like basically, when Obama was in office, there was expectation that we were going to have white slaves by the end of his term. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's because again, we have this whole thing going on in the Middle East and all that stuff, and the expectation is you're going to stop it because when we elect you, you're going to stop it because you're black, right? Yeah. So it's one of those things where I do think that there needs to be room for grace. I also think there needs to be room for accountability. I think we need to hold our politicians accountable. Doesn't matter what race they are or whatever. If we get Kamala into office, we need to hold her accountable. We have tangibles, we have expectations, and it can be done in a respectful way, but and if the other guy gets in too, whatever expectations anyone has of him, you gotta hold him accountable. But I mean, I expect that every State of the Union is going to be an episode of WWE Monday Night Raw, but I mean, it's grace. It's what's best for the country. It's what's best for you. Register and vote. And at the end of the day, if you haven't seen the movie Shirley yet, definitely check it out.
Yeah, it was good.
John Ridley is an amazing filmmaker. He wrote 12 Years a Slave, won an Academy Award. He did Undercover Brother, which a lot of people don't realize he wrote that. And he did a lot of stuff. I can't remember exactly.
And we got Regina King.
Yeah, I'm getting her. And then we have Regina King, who's always amazing in everything she does.
Yeah.
Her sister, you know what? Terrence Howard is a good actor. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, who said he wasn't a good actor?
I like Terrence.
I mean, people make fun of him sometimes, but yeah, Terrence
He's a
Howard.
genius.
Huh?
He's a genius.
He's a genius. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
No, he
I mean,
is literally. He is a genius.
Yeah.
well,
No, look him up. He's yes.
I mean, yeah, but
smart. Like
he's trying to teach a new math. I don't think I have the bandwidth to learn a new math.
He's got like 3 or 4 patents. He's got patents under his name. He is like stupid smart. Like Google it. Look, Google
Did he invent the anti-stick ducks that go on the bottom of the tub?
What the hell? No, man. Come on. Man.
The practicalities what I'm asking for. Anyway.
Man, it's getting late. Let's get out of here, man. One thing, we'll go to Neil and Dawn. If you anything you'd like the audience to know, where they can find you, any upcoming projects, things that you're working on, we want the world to know, follow, engage with you, and support you so that you can be the greatest that you can be.
I appreciate that. That kind of
let me put you on the features. Give me 1 second to move you on.
Oh, look at that. No, so I appreciate the time. I appreciate, you trusting me to come on this podcast and behave and, have a little fun and be, be a little loose and whatnot. But, at the end of the day, it's all about helping our community. As I mentioned earlier, I have officially walked away from corporate America as of July 31st. So I am 100% full-time entrepreneur. I have a company called Goodness in Grains. That is goodness, just like the word, IN, grains, plural. We are here to help bring healthier, nutritional food options to communities that are deemed a food swamp or a food desert. So we are a startup, but the business has been doing really well. We're going to hopefully get to a point where we will, take some angel investors. So if you want to be kind and donate money to Goodness and Grains, you can Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, phone a friend, send a pigeon, whatever you want to do, all of that. But it is a passion project of mine. I have been very, very particular about my health and wellness journey personally, and realizing that when I wanted something healthy to eat, it wasn't any in my area where I live outside of Atlanta. And there's other areas like mine. So, my husband and I started this company to help bring healthier food options to those communities. And eventually we want to scale and have it throughout the United States. So you can follow us along for that and keep me lifted in prayer as I continue this doctoral journey, because it ain't for the weak. But we gonna make it do what it do. And Jhade, as always, I got so much love for you. Like, let me give you your flowers right quick, and then I'm gonna shut up. So I've known Jhade for over 20 something years. I think we go back to, everybody know he's a member of Omega Psi Phi. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. When I was MPHC president, he was on my council with me. And then there was a point in time where we were both council members to whoever was the president then. I even forgot, back then. And we used to go toe to toe on everything because of what we was bringing to the table. But it was such a healthy love and respect because Jhade has always been about community. He's always been about bringing people together in some form or fashion. He would do some amazing events in Columbus, Ohio. And I would offer and lend my support and vice versa. And so just to see how much you have evolved and grown and doing your thing in LA with you and the missus, it makes my heart very full. And, to say that I can say, oh, I know him. I know him. It's just remarkable. So even with, the African American Wellness Initiative, the walk that you guys just did just recently, my heart was over here singing for joy in the A. So I'm like, keep doing, doing what you're doing any way that I can continue to help you and thrive. My brother, I got you. And Kenan, since you part of his family, you part of mine now too, despite your crazy quirks with your views. I still love you. And Dawn Queen, I was all in when he told me. I was like, oh yeah, we gonna have some fun tonight. So I am super proud of you and your podcast and what you're doing. I commend you and keep doing what you do. I don't care what nobody else got to say, feel, or do. Just keep doing it because you got people that are watching and people that are admiring the work that you're doing. So I'm proud. I'm very proud.
Love you too. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Dawn Day. Tell the people where to find you. What you got going on?
All right, beautiful people. One, thank you so much, Tennille, for your kind words. I appreciate that. Like I shared before, I have my podcast, Vitamin D. It's a pun off my name. You get vitamin D from the sun. So I'm here to shed light into your life. And I started out with using inspirational lyrics and conversations, but ultimately, I want to shine light on things that matter. So, goodness and grains, I would love to welcome you on Vitamin D.
Hi.
For anybody else that needs some information or inspiration, I want to encourage you to follow and support my baby. It's been since 2011, so like 13 years that I've been working on this and pushing that forward. Also, if you happen to be LA, pull up on me at the Groundlings. And as of right now, I'm enjoying myself, and I want to thank Jhade. Some of you may not know, I met Jhade back when I was on the FM dial, had interviewed him or had a conversation with him about the African American Male Wellness Agency. And despite my departure, Jhade still believed what we can accomplish with the community and spreading the word. And so now I'm so happy right now that I'm able to support with my talents and gifts on the social media front and just amplifying the message. So thank you so much for just being a stand-up guy, knowing how to handle my fiery reactions. Sometimes I say, don't pull it back. And I'm like, thank God Jay gets it.
Man, I've had so much practice. I appreciate you. I'm gonna go, and then Kenan, I want you to bring us home because you got the important stuff. You can follow me on social media, Jay Brandon. I just like to keep it real. I'm for the people, other people, and always will be. I love to have fun, and we do have a Black Men's Wellness Day that's happening here in Los Angeles. If you are anywhere close to Los Angeles, please come see us November 2nd. I'm gonna tell you time and time again, it's a free event, saving Black men's lives. So we hope to see you there. And then for the man of the hour, the real talent, the comedian, the world traveled, Mr. Kenan J. Fluid. Take us out.
That's not true. I did not contribute that much to this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way, Tennille and Don. It was so fun having you guys here to tell me about myself. Anyway. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Kultur'D. As you know, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Kultur'D Pod, KULTURDPOD. Follow us on Facebook. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube, comment, like, and share with other people so that we can grow our fan base. If you are going to be in any of the cities that I am performing in over the next few weeks, please get your tickets. This Friday, I am going to be in, and I'm going to pull it up right now. This Friday, I'm going to be in San Antonio, Texas at Upstage Comedy Lounge. Go to upstagecomedylounge.net to, actually, I'm going to use another one. Go to upstagecomedylounge.net. We can use this for now until it loads. Go to upstagecomedylounge.net to get your tickets. You can also hit the link in the bio in my under this video and also on our Instagrams to get your tickets before they're gone. I think we have a few tickets left, but we're actually selling pretty fast. So make sure you go ahead and get that taken care of, and I'll see you there. I'm with the hilarious Chris Gouillon and Everett Lamb. It's going to be a good time. On September 14th, I'm going to be in West Hartford, Connecticut at the Elbow Room. 2 shows, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Hit the link in the bio. Make sure you get those tickets. 2 opportunities to see me work this hour out. And then September 15th, I will be at St. Mark's Comedy Club in the West Village in New York City. 7 p.m. is the show. Go to stmarkscomedyclub.com to get those tickets or hit the link in the bio. I'm going to have more dates coming up soon. Hopefully towards the end of the year and the beginning of 2025. Thank you, everyone, for your support. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Kenan J. Floyd. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this podcast. You guys have been amazing guests. Jhade, you're always a good support system. You know how to bring the perspective that we all love and that we need to these movie conversations. And make sure you guys register and vote.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
All
right. Until next time, man. Y'all be good.
Peace. Thank you.
Bye.